in today's class, we're going to kickstart our um, mobile app design. Before you start designing, the research part is the biggest part of your design. The research part takes roughly, I could say boldly, hitting my chest that the research part can consume about 80% of your performance, okay? Because that's where you describe everything. And then 20% goes into your design. So before you start designing, you need to go into your research, okay? Now, if you still remember the steps I taught you guys, I'm just going to pick up a frame just to refresh your memory because we've actually been doing a whole lot. So I'll just take my time out to let you know the processes. These are the processes of UI UX design. Okay. Now, the first one, as we all know, I told you guys before, is the empathy stage. Empathy stage. Okay. Now, in this stage is where you, let me just make that a little bit bold. Let's use medium. Okay, great. Let's make this one bold. All right. Now, the first stage is the empathy stage. The empathy stage is where you get to listen, pay very close attention to whosoever that is giving you the headsway of the app they want you to design for them. So in this stage, all you do is you put yourself in the position of a listener, a good listener, because a good designer starts from a good listener. You need to, first of all, pay very close attention and understand every point your client would like you to implement in their design. Now, after the empathy stage, the next stage you get to focus is the define stage. Now, what happens in the define stage? The define stage is where you go back home and then you sit back and you draft out the point. What exactly is this person trying to solve? You define the design, you define the steps. What exactly does this person want me to design? Okay, okay, this is the problem this person is trying to solve. After you must have paid very close attention to what this person wants you to design. These steps are very important in your UI UX journey. Make sure not to forget. Once you have defined the problem, the next thing you have to face is the ideate. Now, what happens in the ideate? It can also be called the ideation stage. Okay, you can call it the ideate or ideation. Now, this is where you put up ideas. So let me do this here, ideate / ideation. If you can hear me, give me a reaction. All right, so this is where you now start putting up ideas. Okay, how do I start up this design? What do I do first? What is the next thing to do? What will the design look like? Okay, now all that falls into the ideate. You've listened, you've figured out the solution or the problem they're trying to solve, and then you are now putting your ideas together to create something really amazing. Now, the next stage after this one is what you call the prototyping. Now, if you remember clearly from the last class, we have done extensively a whole lot of prototyping um, effects, let me use that, or interactions. Now, prototyping is where you begin to give life to your design. You have listened, you have defined the problem which you're about to solve, and then you have put your ideas together to get this thing solved. Now, prototyping is where you give life to your design. Okay, you give life to your design, whereby the pages now begin to animate. You click here, it takes you here, you do this, and after this, it means your design is almost ready. After this prototyping stage, the next stage you have to talk about is the testing. I'm trying to enlighten you more on this thing because I'm going to talk extensively with you guys on different days where we just have to discuss about how to go about your research processes before you start designing. Okay, now testing is where you get to do your usability testing. You get users to test the app to give you feedback. Now, this feedback you get from your users are the information you can use to focus on the stage called iteration. Now, iteration simply means you get to update. Okay, let me check if someone is trying to join the class. Okay, so the iteration stage is where you now implement the feedback you've gotten from your testers. Okay, this is where you implement all the feedback you've gotten from your testers. So these processes, these are the major processes of UI UX design. So now um, let's jump into our mobile app design because I know we have been anticipating for this stage, this level where we are now. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you want to design, you want to create a mobile design is you need to come to this part that says frame. Okay, you just click on frame, and then on the right hand corner, this is the design panel, this is the prototype panel. You're going to see different frames here that you can use. The first one is the phone, the next is tablet, the next is desktop. You already know all of these. Okay, now this time we're about to go into mobile app design. Here you go to phones and then you choose which of these phones you want to use the size to design. Okay, most people like using 13 and 14, while some other people love using 14 plus. So I'll just pick 13 and 14. And guys, this is the size of the mobile um, view. Okay, so I'm just simply going to move this aside. I'm going to move this aside to this part so we don't have to look at this part. This, whatever I did here, you can discover in the video I'll produce and send to you guys. But let me just play them for you to see before we start designing. Right in these other designs, we created some prototyping because you have to implement prototype in your mobile design. So you can see this is what we did. We've done this in the previous class. So if you missed out, you will need to watch the previous class to get all these things. You can see here we have welcome back changing. We have this one automatically scrolling by itself. We have our um, scrollable edge, which we have here. This is the scrollable edge. Okay, you can still scroll what you have behind, and you can also click to drop it. So if you missed out on this, make sure to watch the previous video to understand all of this. And okay, so let's go back to, okay, this one. I want you to understand the difference between this one. You can see how this one is moving, and then this other one, which I'll present for you guys now. So that one is coming up. You're going to see the difference between the prototype style. Now, this is how this one is moving. You can see this. So this is how this one is about your endless scroll. This is how you do your endless scroll. So if you have your sponsors or you have something you want to show, it keeps going in here and it also pops out back from here. So if you also missed out on this, you would need to watch the previous video to learn and perfect how to create this. Give me a reaction if you can hear me. A reaction? Can you hear me? Give me a reaction. All right, nice. Hi, okay, welcome to class. Um, okay, so I've shown you guys how what what prototype or interactions, the different types of interactions we implemented in the previous class, make sure to watch the previous video to learn these things. They are pretty very easy. There's one more thing I want to show you guys before we start our design. I didn't show you guys how to do it, but right now I'm going to implement that before we proceed. This one is, let me just check if I have something here for that. Okay, well, as we proceed in class, we're going to implement a whole lot of prototyping, and I want you guys to pay close attention. So when you are about to design, when you start designing your mobile app, guys, first of all, you need to pick the kind of phone you want to design. You go to your frames here and you go to this corner. You have the Android, the small screen, and you also have the Android. Hit F on your keyboard, that's the shortcut for frame, and you have the Android large screen. So this is basically for our large screen Android phones, okay? But this time we're going to be using our iPhone 13 and 14. Now, I'm just going to take these ones out, and then this is our frame for mobile device. Once you have this in place, every mobile device, before you start designing, most people, most designers implement layout grid. You should always implement your layout grid first. And your layout grid that is really very effective for your design is when you click on layout grid, you come here, change this to columns, and then you change the count to 4. You change the margin to 16, and you also change the gutters to 16. So 4, 16, 16 is a very good setting that you can use to design on your mobile device. Okay, so this is what we have now. Okay, now what do you mean by the margin and the gutters? The space in between here is 16. So, and if you remember clearly, we love using a space of multiples of 8 when we are designing. So 8, 16. So we always love giving space of 16. Let's say, for example, you place something here. Make sure it snaps, and then you want to place another one here. The distance between these two is automatically 16. So you do not need to worry yourself about the space in between them. Okay, so I'll just quickly delete this. Now that we have our, if you can hear me, give me a reaction. All right, nice. So now that we have our, let me just quickly close this. Now that we have our layout grid in place, the next thing that we need to get is our notification bar. Okay, because we are talking about iPhone. When you're talking about iPhone, you talk about the notification bar and the home call, what do you call it? Home call tab, which we have here. So you can either design that yourself, or you simply just go to your Figma. Simply go to your Figma, and then you go to the part that says explore community. It's down here, okay? Explore community. So once you come to explore community, you can just type here and say notification iPhone. You can just say iPhone 14 notification. You can see some examples here. You can see this one that says notification bar, or you can just type everything and hit enter so that you can get multiple options. Okay, you can get a whole lot of options when you do that. Let me go back. So I'll just say iPhone notification bar. When you hit enter, it should present you with a whole lot of designs. I think they are beginning to limit all these things. So you can double click on that, and you can open this in your Figma. Click on open in Figma to view that properly and get whatever, what do you call them, assets you need. Now look at this. You all can see my screen, right? So right here, you can see by the left corner here, you can see the about, you can see the components, you can see the prototypes, you can see all templates. Now these are the different templates. You can borrow whatever you need from here. Okay, you can borrow whatever you need from here. All you just need to do is zoom into that exact thing you want to pick, click on it, and then right click and say copy. Once you copy it, you can now go and place it on your design. Okay, but I wouldn't advise you, since you guys are still new to the design system, you do not need to copy everything you see. You can also try to recreate some of them by yourself. Okay, try to recreate some of these things by yourself. You can copy this one, paste it, but when you go back to your Figma, make sure you try to design it yourself. Okay, design these things are pretty simple. So we can just go back to our design, and now that we have something to paste, we can just paste this one here, and you have something like this here. Since the color is white, you can simply just change the color to come here where you have the white. You can just change that to black. Okay, you can use 3333 and then make sure you still have it here. You can still detach and then do your 3333 on the white, and to change everything we have there to black. But we are not going to use this one. We're going to use the one we have on our design here. Okay, so if you choose to design this yourself, all you need to do is you create your frame. When you create your frame by hitting F on your keyboard and you get the measurements you want, which you can use maybe 50 or so, then you can now go and get your battery, iPhone battery, iPhone Wi-Fi, iPhone signal. You can get these things and then apply them yourself, but without wasting time, because I want you guys to understand the concept. That's why I'm taking my time to explain this. You can just simply take this one as it is and place inside your frame and make sure it snaps at the edge. Okay, as it snaps, you're going to see the red dots all over. So this, now we have our home notification bar right here. So let's present it and see what we have. So I'm presenting it right now. Guys, please just pay close attention. The class won't be for long. Okay, so this is what we have now. This is what we've placed now. You can see it looks pretty cool here. The next thing we're going to implement is our home call bar that stays here. So you can design that yourself by creating your frame, hitting F, and make sure the frame size, the width is the same. Okay, so we have something like this now. And we can now hit L on our keyboard, or we hit R for rectangle. L is for line. Okay, this is L. Okay, and R is for rectangle. So I'm teaching you the shortcut so you can easily do these things yourself. So I'll just use R, then zoom in, click here and take it to this point. Then I'm going to centralize it. And the next thing I'm going to do right here is to come to this part and give it a rounded edge. So this is what it now looks like. You can also now change the color by giving it something called, you can use 3333, but don't use 0000 because that's pure black. Now that you have something like this, I think this frame looks really too big. So we can just reduce this and we can now drag this in here. Make sure it snaps perfectly. Great. So when we go back to our design, this is what we have now. Okay. So these are the simple steps you take. Now, the critical steps you need to understand when designing mobile device is, number one, for every time you open up your mobile device, I need you guys to unmute. When you open your mobile device, it usually pops up a screen that shows your logo, true or false.
True.
Yeah. So that screen is called the splash. That screen you see that comes with your logo. Let's say, for example, I want to design a very big logo right now. I put this here and then I just zoom in, click on this, come to the edge, make this look like this. And then I can now have maybe hit O on my keyboard and I can hold shift to create a circle that will look this way. Now let's say this is your logo and this is the first thing that pops up when someone send to back, right click and send to back. So I will just quickly change the color. Let me reduce the size. Okay, reduce the size and I'll just select these two, right click, and I will group this selection so they become one. Okay, now I'll just place them and make sure it is centered. So this particular one now I can say bring to front and I'll give it a color. I can give it a different color, maybe something like this. And this other one can be something close to black. Let's say this is my logo. This first screen that pops up is called your splash screen. So you can just name this thing splash screen. Now, splash screen is the first screen that pops up so that the user will know the app they just launched on their phone. So this is what it's looking like right now. This is more like our splash screen, the first screen people get to see when they um, they launch their app. Now, when I mentioned something about prototyping to you guys, I was trying to tell you that prototyping is where you add interaction to your design. So let's quickly just create something now before we proceed. This is off the this is just off the class schedule, okay? But I just want to show you something. So I can actually just shrink this one now. I want to show you the power of prototyping so that you understand how prototyping works. So I'm just going to centralize this and I'll take it down, hold shift and press my direction down button. Okay, now this is where I have this. This is what it looks like. So now I'm just going to create a rounded shape. Let's say I'll hit O on my keyboard to create a sphere. So I'll just create something like this. And then I'll centralize it. And then I'm also going to change the fill color by hitting I on my keyboard and select this. So now we have our design, our logo hidden. So let's now let's prototype this thing such that we want to give animation to this design. We want to give a little animation. So we just select this screen, go to prototype, and then we come here and move the arrow to this part. So we can now say after delay, smart animate. Okay, smart animate, and we can say okay, we can leave it at this ease out, but let's increase the timing so that we would see it will not happen in a hurry, so quick. So now let's refresh. Let's present this again. All right, guys, pay attention. Sorry, it didn't come up really good. Let me close this instead and present it again. Or you can also click on this part and it will bring out a smaller display for you on the left corner of your screen. So you don't have to wait. Did you see the animation? Now, let's open it in a bigger screen. So it will look like you just activated the app on your phone. All right, so it's coming up. Did you see that? So there's a whole lot you can do with prototyping. Give me a reaction if you saw that. Nice. So there is a whole lot you can do. You can also make it bounce if you want. How do you make it bounce? You select Smart Animate and then you change this from ease out to custom spring. This custom springs lets you know You can see the bouncing effect here. Watch that. Okay, so once you now go and present the design again, you're going to see it's going to have a bouncing kind of effect. There's a whole lot, guys. We're going to explore prototyping a lot more as we go through um, this. Okay, so let's view it from this one. You will notice the bouncing kind of effect. So this is how you give life to your design prototyping. So we're heading back to our design right now. Okay, I just want to present it on this bigger screen. Yeah, so you see that this is really interesting. There's so much fun when it comes to mobile design. So let's just take this out because this is not what we are here for. So I'll just delete this and close this. So guys, after your splash screen, okay, the class will be coming to an end really shortly. So after your splash screen, the next thing is you need to have your onboarding screen. Now, what is onboarding screen? For the benefit of those who might be asking, okay, what is onboarding screen? Google is your friend. Okay, you can always use Google. You can always use your Chat GPT, just your AI. You can use your AI chat box and get that. But onboarding screen is a few screens that you present to the user to let them know what they stand to benefit, or what this app is all about. So let's simply just type here, what is onboarding screen? So we'll just click here. Now you can see an onboarding screen is an introductory screen a user sees when they open a new app for the first time. So it simply explains what we are talking about. Now let's view a couple of images so that we can be sure that we really understood what that means. Now look at this design here. Let's just have a quick look on this one. Okay, it's coming up here. So you can see that this screen is telling you that this app will help you taking care of your plans and by displaying advice and facts about them. The next one also tells you the next thing, and this one also tells you that there is a support team that is readily available to answer all your questions. So these are onboarding screens. They are usually 3 or 4 in number, depending on the information you wish to pass to your users. So here you can just name this one onboarding screen 1. Okay, and then you can have the second one as well. You will name this one screen 2. It automatically changes once you give it number 1. It automatically changes the next one to 2. If you have the third one, it's going to change this one automatically. Immediately you let go to change it to 3, and this one to change it to 4. Now we have 4 onboarding screens. If you're following, give me a reaction. Is this interesting? Can somebody unmute and tell me if this is interesting?
Yeah, very so far.
Awesome. So now what is your onboarding screen all about? How do you design your onboarding screen? Remember, you have your edge here, your layout grid. Your design must not exceed this part. Now, how do we quickly design these onboarding screens before we call it a wrap for today? Very simple. There are different ways you can add things to your onboarding screen. You can add illustrations. Remember, I told you about illustration kit. Illustration kit. It's a website, illustrationkit.com. Now, illustrationkit.com allows you to download some of all these things depending on what you want to showcase to your users. Okay, this can be if you're designing an app that has to do with map, you can use this one. If you're designing an app that has to do with schedule planning, this is the one you can pick. There are so many illustrations you can just pick from here. Okay, now this one seems like a good one. You can either use this or um, you can use images. And I remember I told you guys to always make sure you go to freepik.com, and you can also get images from Unsplash. Okay, you can get images from unsplash.com. These people give you high quality images that you can use for your designs. Okay, you just name what you want by typing it in here. Let's say ride share. Sorry, it's supposed to be share, not scare. So ride share. Let's say we want to design an app that has to do with ride sharing. We can simply just check out the images here and pick something. Okay, ride sharing app. Okay, so now you can see they are going to give you some samples. You can download and change the image you are seeing on them. So this is how you do your search for your images when using, this is Unsplash. You can also check out Freepik. Let's say taxi. So since we are designing, let's say we are designing something that has to do with taxi or ride sharing, you can download any image. You can download an image and then place it in your design. Let's just pick this one. Let's just pick this one so that we can have can wrap up really fast. So here I'm just going to pick this one. Right, you wait for the image to come out with its complete color. So I'll just pick copy image. I'll come here and then I can paste it in here. Position this to this edge, this our layout grid. Then I can reduce this. You can hold shift and drag it until you have this smaller design. Hold shift if you want to have equal reduction from all sides. So now we have this in place. Always make sure you maintain the same distance. The distance you have here should also be the distance you have from on your next image here. Sorry, Control Z. So we're going to change this image. Make sure you have the same distance of 60. We're also going to do the same thing here, but we are going to change these images. So not to worry. Place one step down, and then we also place this one here. So this is assumed to be our ride sharing app, and you can see that they all have the same equal distance. When you zoom out, you can see that something is already taking shape here. Okay, now you can give them a corner radius. Let's say we give them a corner radius of 32 so that the edges will not look too sharp. Now, the next thing you do is you need to have a little text. You need to have a little text that explains what this thing is actually, what this particular screen is doing for them. Okay, so here you can just put your text. If you can hear me, give me a reaction. This is interesting, right? So here you just come here and you're going to give your little text. You can just give a little text here. T for text, and then you take from this edge to this edge, and then we drop it here. So right here, you make sure you have your font size. You change this to regular, and then you can leave it at 16. Or you can make it 14. You can just say welcome to, what do we name this, right? Can somebody give me okay, let me just use Code Planet. Code P Ride. Welcome to Code P Ride. Then you come down and say the best and most convenient way to move around. I'm sorry it's taking time to type, okay? That's not really mine. Now that you can see that this is going off this thing, you can just come back to you can select this, come here and do your auto width or auto height. This is auto height. The moment you do that, it will automatically adjust this for you. Now, this one that says welcome to code P ride, you can make it bold or you make it semi-bold so it will look different. So this is what we have now. Okay, you can now duplicate this. If this image talks about, let's get another image quickly. Now we've gotten for the right. Let's get another one that shows map. Let's look for the one that is going to give us the map. I'm trying to be really fast, so we just wrap up after the onboarding screens. Okay, so another thing I also want to show you guys is before we do, let's just duplicate this into every other screen. So we just place this here, take this one, place this one here, and then we take this one and place this one here. We are going to change them later, but I want to show you guys how the next thing you can actually do for your onboarding screen. So you must have come across something that looks like this. Let's make this, let's make it look like this. Rectangle, zoom in, but let's use O. So we can have something like this. Sorry, Control Z. O. You hold Shift and you create something like this. You must have seen something that looks exactly this way in some mobile app designs. Okay, so now this indicates the four screens of your onboarding screen. You can either indicate it by a color change. Okay, let's say this is our color, so we can just pick this one and hit I, and we pick this one. I brings out the ink selector. Okay, so you can indicate it this way. There are also people who do it in such a way that when they are on the first one, it looks, sorry, Control Z. It has kind of like, no, will I call it an oblong shape or a rectangular shape? So it's going to look somehow like this. Rectangle, it's going to look this way. So here you make sure it's the same height. You can see the red dots. Then you can give it a corner radius of, let's say, 4 or 8, depending on how you want it to look. Okay. Then you make sure the space is also equal by selecting these 3 dots here, 3 strokes, and you tidy up. So right now you can see that we have it looking like this. Remember to maintain your perfect distance between each of these things. So you can say from here to here can be 32. Sorry, Control C. The distance between here and here, you can change it here to 32. And then you can have a distance of maybe 40. Make sure to group these things. Group selection. Now, since we are on the first screen, we can change this to we can change that to our color, mobile app color, which is this. So this is what we have now. Okay, guys, if you're following, give me a reaction. All right, nice. So this is how you design your onboarding screen. You can see it's already looking like a real mobile app onboarding screen. Okay, you can have it look like this. So let's take this one out, delete, and we just select these, hold Alt, click and drag, and then bring it here. So once we change this image now, we change this image, we change this other right up here. You can change this one to safe and secure payments. So this particular screen now, you need to get an image that has to emphasize your statement here that there is always a safe and secure payment when you pay using this mobile app. Then here you can now change the position of these things. Okay, you can now swap the position. How do you swap the position? When you do auto layout and then you click on this one, when you move it this way, it pushes this one to this side, and then you have this one here. So this is how the second screen now looks. When you apply the same thing to the third one, because we've added auto layout here, our next screen is going to be for, let's delete this and this. So we select this, this, and this, hold Alt, click and drag. So here, we just come here, place it here, make sure it is centered, and then we click on this one, click it and drag it to this way. So it's going to push this one again to this side. So letting us know that we are on the third screen. So you do the same thing for this one, which is the fourth screen. So we select all of these, hold Alt, click and drag, and then we place it here. Make sure it is well centered like this. And then you also come here, click this and take it to the end. Sorry, Control C. So since we don't want this to go out, we just pick this one and take it this way instead. So this is what we have now. All you have to do at this point now is, let me delete this, is you need to now change your images, and trust me, your onboarding screen is almost ready. So another thing we left out here is you can leave it for sliding, okay? You can leave it for dragging, or you can apply a button here that would say next. So let's say we are applying a call to action button by clicking frame, which is F. So we just come here, click here, and then you can always use a frame height of from 44 to 50 for your mobile designs, from 40 to 50. But I love using 44 or 45. So if we make this 44 or we make it 50, this is what we're going to have. Then we can give it a slight corner radius of maybe 4 or 8. And then we also change the fill color to our app color. So I'll just hit I and I'll select this. So this is what we have now. And this button is supposed to be for our next, and then the last one will now be get started. Is it making sense? Give me a reaction. All right, nice. So how do we adjust and maintain equal height? We can just click on this one now and click on this. Make sure, since we have a distance of 40 or 50 from this to this, which is quite much, we can actually make it a distance of 36. No, 36 will be so close. 18, 8, 16, 32, 40. Let's make it a distance of 48. So we can have a distance of 48. So we take this up 2 steps, 1, 2. And we also want to have the same distance between this and this. So you select this and select this. Make sure you have 48 as well. Then hit enter. So this is what we have now. So to have a good design, you need to make sure everything is properly centered. So we select this, 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 and this, and then we can drag them up until we see that center line there. So our design is properly centered right now, okay? So if you don't want these things to begin to get scattered when you move them around, what's the distance between this and this? We have 32, okay? So you can select this, 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 and this, and then you right click and group. you group selection. When you group selection, you can now move everything around together. So I'll just do Control C. Okay, so this is what we have now. And let's get an image that would, um, let's get an image. Let's take this out and let's get an image that would be here. And this one, we need to set this one on the same position as this one is. You can see the position here, 16503. So once you select this one now and 16503 and hit enter, it will automatically move this to be on the same level with this. Okay, always work with your design panel. It will save you a whole lot of stress. So you select this and this 16, then you change this to 503, enter to move it up. You also find out the position of this one. Okay, 149623. So you select this, hold shift, select this, and select this. Come here, 149623, hit enter. They are now all on the same level. You copy this as well. Copy, come here and paste. You can paste it here. Paste here as well. And then you paste here as well. Now, don't worry about the position. It takes you just one simple step to align all of them to be in the right position. So you just come here, select this. You have 16682. So you select this, 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 16682, and then you hit enter. You'll see that they are now all properly aligned. So all we now need to do is we need to take out these pictures and get pictures that would match what we want them to see. So this last one, I'll just change this one to 24/7 customer support. Okay. Sorry guys, we're wrapping up in the next roughly 3 to 5 minutes. I just need you guys to pay attention. We are wrapping up. Once we are done, we will now test the flow from here to the end and we'll call it a wrap. This one says safe and secure payment. This one should be, we can call this one to be share ride details safely. Okay, now you can just change this to easily share ride details to family and friends. On the go. This one, you can now change this one to full-time customer support to ensure superb experience. So most times, if you're confused on what to write, you can always ask your chat GPT to suggest something for you for your onboarding screen. It will just give you some options. So all payments are safe and secure via our payment portal. I'm just writing these things from my head. I hope it makes sense. So here we just have these things. And guys, let's just quickly get the 3 images and we test the screen and then we call it a wrap. So we come here and we go to free pick. Hope you guys are still with me. Okay, so let's go to free pick and let's select something that says, we can use right share. Let's pick this one quickly for our right share because we have our app color here. Okay, you allow the image to load up completely till it gives you that full nice look. Then we come back here and we paste this here. Share right details safely. So we paste this here and we move this to snap at the grid. Then we also adjust from here. Nice. So let's see the height of this one. The height is 358, so we can make this one 358 as well. 358, hit enter. This is to make sure you have equal spacing. Okay, so now you can see that when you check here, you can also adjust here to snap. Great. So what's the distance we have from here to this? 32. So we're going to have distance of 32 as well here. So right now it's 26. So we take it up 6 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's good. 61, 61. You can see that. Nice. So we can now pick another app for safe and secure payment, another image rather, for safe and secure payment and 24-hour customer support. So we now test our design and then we call it a wrap. So guys, stick with me. Let's just pick the images together. We want something about customer support, and this one has to do with, let's see the options we have. Safe and secure payment and customer support. Okay, so I think this looks better for the sharing. So let me just get this one as well. We'll decide if we should use this or not. So I'll just copy the image, come here, paste it here. Let's go back and get the images we need. So we go back and then let's get customer support. Hit enter. So we have something like this, but this is not our app color. Remember, your color is very important. Your app color design is very important. So let's just look for something that is going to have our color. And guys, remember we are using illustrations. If you are using illustrations, make sure you use illustrations throughout. And if you're using images, make sure you use images throughout. So if we have to change this, we might need to change everything to be something like this, customer support, or we can continue using illustrations like this. Okay, always make sure you're working with the same color. This kind of has our color, so we can pick this one. And then I'm just simply going to copy this. Make sure you are working with, if you're working with images, make sure it is strictly images, real human images. And if it is illustrations, make sure it is strictly illustrations, so you don't make your design look kind of off. So now we have this. We need to get the height, 358. So we change this one to 358. 358. Hit enter. And we need to have a distance of 61, just like we have in the other screens. So we say 61 and we hit enter. So you can see that the distance between this and this is 32 as well, just as we have here. Then we are going to get the last image, safe and secure transactions. So let's get something that has to say transactions. Safe and secure transactions. So this looks like it, but that's not our color. So we just scroll down and get something that has, yeah, I think this has our color. So we pick this, allow it to load up properly, then you copy the image. Copy and come back here, and we're going to paste it right inside here. Snap it to the edge of the grid, and then you reduce from here make sure you snap it on this other side of the grid. Then you need to make the height 538 or so, 358. So we select it, come here, 358, hit enter, and then we reduce it to snap, and then we'll make sure we place it to have a distance of 61 from this edge to this part. So we just come here and key in 61 and hit enter. So guys, lastly, you just come here, hit T for text on your keyboard, and you centralize that. Okay, make sure to apply the vertical center and the horizontal center. And then we're going to name that button, call to action button, next. Click outside and change the shape to maybe semi-bold or medium. But semi-bold is more pronounced, okay? So now that we have this here, we can now centralize it properly. Okay, click. You can just copy this, do your paste to replace, come here, do your paste to replace, and then come here, do your paste to replace, but this one will now be get started. Great, so you can see that our app is now looking really good. This is just the intro, and this is already looking really interesting. So when you do your Shift G to take out your layout grid, you can see that we already have this looking very nice. Okay, guys, let me get your reaction on this. Does this look good? Nice. Okay, so we can still apply that our Shift G again. That is the grid. And then what are we supposed to do right now? We can now add a back button. Okay, we can add a back arrow here, just in case somebody wants to come back to this one. So we just come here, click on plugins, click on Iconify, and then as soon as it loads up, we just come here and say arrow, hit enter, and we're just going to locate one beautiful looking arrow that we are going to use. You can use this one, you can use this one. So I'll just pick this one and I'll say import, and then I'll close this. So if we can see our arrow here, we drag this from here and we're going to place it here. Make sure it snaps to the edge. So how do you spin it around? You come like this. Once you see this, you hold shift on your keyboard, click, and then spin it around. Shift helps you maintain a very perfect spin when you are spinning your arrow around. So we can now just copy this one, come here, click on the name, and then do our Control V to paste. And then we can also click here on this one and do our Control V to paste. And then remember, you can also add a button. You can also add a skip button, but your button should not be very pronounced. Okay, you can have a skip button, but your button should not be pronounced. So now that we have all of this in place, let me just quickly add the skip button, and then we prototype, and then we close for the day. Okay, nice reaction. So here, from this first page or this first onboarding screen, we're going to just add a text here. Remember, we have a text called our link, small link. Okay, I think I've shown you guys that. But let's just type this. Let's change this to 12. Let's make it 14. And you can just call this one skip. But if you don't want it to be pronounced, just change it to light. Sorry, make sure it has this frame around it before you start changing. So you change it to light. So it's going to look pretty small and not really noticeable. It's not going to be very noticeable by your users. Okay, so you can just place this one here. Make sure it snaps to your grid. And the distance between this and this is, you see, it was 20. Here you have distance between this and this 18. Distance between this and this is 18. Distance between this and this should also be 18. So we have everything in place. Now, this skip button should not be very pronounced because you want your users to see. You want your users to see, to read everything here and understand what your app is all about. So you can just copy this one, Control C, and then you click on the frame name and do your Control V. When you do Control V, it automatically pastes what you copied on the same level as at where you copied it from. So you paste here, and then on this part, you're already ready to go. So this is our app right now. What do we do at this point? Let's just prototype and present this, and then we call it a day. So from the next class, we are going to emphasize more from this part to the next steps. So here we are now going to do our prototyping by clicking on this prototype panel. Okay. This is our splash screen that pops up, and this is the first onboarding screen to let people know what our app is all about. So to prototype this entire onboarding screens right now, we just selected our prototype panel, and then this is what we have here. For us to go to the next screen, we can say, okay, when someone, we double click here to select next, and then we say when someone clicks on next, please take them to the next page. And Smart Animate is our 300, okay? Now, when you use Smart Animate, that is where you notice the effect or the change in these things when they are scrolling. So we select here as well. We're doing the call to action buttons first. So we select this, and then we take this up here, on tap, change to this other screen, and then we select this other this button here, and say on tap, take them to this other screen. So for this get started, when we now create our registration page, this is where we're going to drag this to the registration page, okay? Now that we've done that, we need to we need to prototype our skip buttons. We have our skip buttons here. So you click this, you hold shift, click on this, hold shift, click on this. Then the moment you click and drag, you'll see that it will drag all three of them. Okay, instead of you doing it one at a time, you just drag that. After holding shift to select, you click on this, hold shift, select the second one, and then you select the third one. And then once you click the plus sign and drag it, it takes all three of them to this page. So skip will bring them to this page. Then our back button, this back button takes you to the previous page. This back button takes you to the previous page. And then this last back button takes you to the previous page. Do we understand?
Yes.
So now let's present our work and call it a wrap. So I'll just click here, and then I'll come to this button that says present, and I'll click. So our design is coming up right now. So if you want your design to last longer, all you need to do is you increase the time here. You can increase this time to like 3. So it's going to last a bit longer before it will switch to the next screen. You can see that it's taking some time, and then it will now change. So here, when we click on next, observe the change. On 3, 2, 1, go, click. Did you see the movement?
Yes.
And then we come here and say on 3, 2, 1, go, click. And then on 3, 2, 1, go, click. Wonderful, right? And your back button also works. It takes you back to the previous page, and you can see the slider moving really nice. And when you click on skip from this page, it takes you to the last page. When you click on it from the second page, which is this one, second onboarding screen, skip takes you to the last one. And also when you're on this third one and click on skip, it takes you to this part. Interesting, right?
Yes, very.
So this is how you get started. This is just the introductory class to mobile app design, and it's already looking really beautiful. So we're going to call it a wrap here, and I'll see you guys in the next class. Okay.